Hijacking the hijacking, the hijacking, the hijacking, the hijacking, the hijacking. Finding a quiet space to relax in, I wonder if you'll achieve or exceed your expectations for relaxation. And as you prepare to open your mind and allow new connections to establish, you may become aware of a direct developmental change or an indirect instrumental change. The winding down process can be extremely stimulating in its own way, can it not? And as you wind down now, understanding that this winding down can also be a part of an awakening process, you may find yourself going deeper, while at the same time noticing yourself becoming lighter. Familiarity with the relaxation process may remind you that by closing your eyes you can enhance and promote this practice, because closing your eyes can act as a message to your subconscious mind that you'd like to shut out the external world going on around you and focus your attention on that internal world, the one that goes on inside your mind. And if you're ready to do this now, you can close your eyes. Or if you need a little bit longer before making this choice, feel free to close your eyes at any time you want. It's amazing how little we consciously understand about the relaxation process, and yet how naturally it comes to us. It's one of those things that we seem to know instinctively how to do. It takes no effort or ability to activate it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's in that letting go process that your breathing automatically slows down and deepens without you even trying. And as your body becomes heavier with the weight of released tension, you can start to notice other physiological changes that suggest that it's the lack of effort that encourages its activation. And in this lack of effort state, you may become aware of the different levels of this experience. And I wonder how deep your mind in particular will allow you to participate. There are many different pathways in your brain that have the potential to activate connections that may have become silent or atrophied at some point, reinitiating states that have become disconnected in your past. And some of these pathways can be mobilized through your conscious attention to love. Love of others, love of self, love for life, and love of experience. This emotion has the capacity to ignite new brainwave entrainments, resulting in gamma frequencies that intensify the experience of the listener. And even the smallest change can provide a substantial benefit. You may even find yourself learning more while doing so much less. To show you how perfect and powerful your mind is, I'm going to ask you to imagine something, and as you create the intention to imagine it, your mind will instinctively search your memories for past experiences of this, and automatically your association with this memory will activate a reproduction of the feel-good emotions your mind learnt to establish at those earlier experiences. And sometimes these pleasant emotions can act as a safe anchor, and sometimes they can act as a powerful resource. Imagine you're being hugged right now, and this is the best hug you've ever had in your life. It's comfortable, It's warm, it's receptive and unconditional. This hug can be given by anyone you choose to imagine giving it. But rather than focusing on the person giving the hug, I want you to focus on how good that hug feels for you. How much tension it helps you release. And how special it makes you feel. This is a hug that you can totally relax right into, absorbing all those loving emotions given with it. Feel those arms around you, your heartbeat close to another's, and the healing joy this hug imparts to your conscious attention of it. That's the way. A hug can say so much by doing so little, can it not? And I don't know if you recognized a flow of endorphins as you merged into this memory of being hugged, or if you remember what that flow of endorphins feels like as it floods your body. I'd like to share a couple of my experiences with you, and consciously you can deduce what you will from them, while subconsciously you can get the bigger picture. A few years ago, my dog had a litter of puppies. When the puppies were 4 weeks old, someone took one of them, and although I knew who took it, there was no way I could prove it to get my puppy back. So I waited. It was about 4 months later when my daughter and her friend saw this puppy on the street on its own, and no one was around. They picked the puppy up and came straight home with it. We managed to sneak it out and get it into a good home. Another experience similar to this one was when my husband, my children and I had gone to do our food shopping. When we arrived back to where our car had been parked, there was no car. It had been stolen. It was quite difficult at the time for me to adjust to having no car, but a few months later, a neighbour who worked in a car yard 40 minutes away rang me to tell me he'd found my car parked outside a bar next to his work. Having a large set of keys he could try, he proceeded to go and steal my car back from the thief, who I'm sure would have been completely surprised when he came out. Over the course of many years, I lost lots of different things that were taken without my consent. Some of these things I never saw again, but many of them I took back. One of the details in this pattern of getting things back that I noticed was that every time it happened at a point where I gave up hoping to get it back and just accepted it was gone. It was almost as if my conscious letting go of what was taken caused an automatic return of it. And I wonder if you can remember things you've taken back that you thought were lost to you too. It's never an easy thing to lose things we've become comfortable with in our lives, and it can often be very hard to adapt to those changed circumstances, to find a way to get by without what we lost. And sometimes what goes missing isn't actually a tangible object we own at all, but a sense of trust we had in the world around us. That feeling of safety and confidence that we are always secure, always protected in some way. And when we lose this, it can feel almost impossible to adapt to a life without it. When adaptation seems hopeless, the alternative is to take back what was lost, to restore the trust we initially had. The first step in accomplishing this is to recognize how malleable the lost state is, and that in fact, although the state may appear lost to your consciousness, the memory of its experience is still recorded intrinsically in your subconscious mind. There are several things that may take the form of restriction in your mind that prevent you from utilizing an intense activation of the memory of the state of trust. And one of those things that may have taken this form is fear. This may have come as a shock that began at the moment you remember losing your trust. And ever since, it's inhabited the space where trust was a proficient experience previously. I wonder if you can imagine this fear as taking the form of a gate in your mind. And this gate keeps your trust state locked behind it. As you look into your mind, maybe all you can see is the gate representing this fear. Sometimes your mind can create an illusion of that fear being much bigger and scarier than it actually is. And it can take a lot of courage to shrink it down to the truth of what it really is. Fear in itself is very small and weak. It thrives on how you perceive it. It grows on your withdrawal from it. And when you choose not to perceive it as something to avoid anymore, it shrinks down to this tiny little thing that is almost insignificant in size compared to you. Can you imagine this gate shrinking down in size now? Can you see it becoming so small that it has no power to block that state of trust anymore? And as it shrinks, imagine that state of trust returning to you, filling your whole body and mind as it activates and reinforces all those memories of its experience in the past. Another restriction you may or may not encounter is unreleased grief. This emotion, when not allowed expression through tears, remains as a pervading sense of blockage in any of the 4 out of 5 stages of grief: denial, bargaining, anger, or depression. It is possible to become stuck in any one of these stages of grief, and this prevents you from moving forward to the last stage of acceptance. When your trust in life has been damaged or betrayed, the ultimate emotion behind any of these stages is intense sadness and hurt that needs to be recognized and understood. Understanding your own sadness can clear all experiences that cover it. Experiences such as anger, denial, guilt, fear, or shame, and any conceptions or beliefs that develop due to these emotions can crumble in your acceptance of how sad you really feel. Maybe sadness has been so repressed for you that you found it hard to even access it within your subconscious. Maybe getting in touch with this sadness has felt overwhelming in the past, or focusing on it created discomfort for you. Right where you are now, I want you to imagine you are writing these words on a blackboard. I allow myself to completely feel all my sadness as I acknowledge and process it effectively. I allow myself to completely feel all my sadness as I acknowledge and process it effectively. I allow myself to completely feel all my sadness as I acknowledge and process it effectively. Writing these words allows your subconscious permission to release these repressed feelings inside you. And your subconscious knows exactly how to do this at just the right amounts and at just the right times that you can cope with effectively. And as your subconscious releases this sadness and grief in you in a way that is externally constructive, you can imagine again how good it feels to be hugged, how safe and soothing being inside those arms of love holding you is. Your trust begins here, by trusting your own subconscious to progressively release all the hurt you've been carrying in amounts that are bearable for you. You reinstate your capacity for trust in yourself again. And every day, as those releases continue in that moderate way, you can feel the empowerment of reclaiming back what you initially thought you'd lost for good. You could notice memories of your past, or the memories may be bypassed as your emotional releases continue. You may become aware of where you've been harbouring this sadness in your body, and you could even see this heartache as an object that you can imagine yourself removing from your body. You may recognise triggers such as neglect, abandonment, blame, self-loathing, unworthiness, or shame. And all of these triggers can also pass without any attachment to them, as you learn what each one is there to teach you. You may experience these releases in a variety of ways. You may find tears an enormous relief as they flow unrestricted, giving you a healing catharsis. You could find yourself writing as you externalize the releases, or maybe you'll find a nice warm bath or shower just washes all that pain down the drain. Any way you can find to get that sadness and pain out, I encourage you to use it. You've carried it long enough. It's time to forgive yourself and resurrect that state of empowered trust and confidence. You deserve to live, to experience, to love and be loved, to understand who you are and what your place is in this world. As the releases come to an end and your cycle of grieving comes to a close, you may come to a new understanding about yourself, an understanding that acts as a catalyst that can change many things for you. You could also find a new type of connection to love, joy, and happiness. When you open the doors and let out all those negative emotions you don't need to hold on to anymore, the capacity to exponentially experience an increase in positive emotions happens simultaneously. And your ability to experience all of your emotions intensifies. Now, this flood of positive emotion can often feel quite liberating and pleasant, and these feelings can often act as a catalyst to move new layers of blockages that may present later. Acknowledging your own internal state of pain is the highest order of healing you can give to yourself. And once these blockages are moved, taking back your sense of trust and faith in life will once again flourish like a beautiful garden coming back to life. When you're ready, return your full awareness to your body. You can imagine that you're waking up from a long dream, and as your awareness increases, you can take only the parts of the dream with you that will help to reactivate the parts you've recovered. Feeling alive and awake now, you can open your eyes.